Awesome. All right. So we have Sean's score up on the screen. And if you haven't been to it, seanscore.com. And there's two S's in the middle there. Always weird on if you should merge those consonants. But so this is Sean's score. I'm really excited to have Sean on board and like talk about this publicly. So yeah, I guess, Sean, do you want to give us like a little bit of a background of what this site is, why you do movie reviews?
Sure. Yeah. So again, my name's Sean. Hello, everybody. In Vegas. I've loved movies for as long as I can remember. The first movie I can ever remember watching as a child is Return of the Jedi. Not New Hope or Empire, just went straight to Return of the Jedi. It was the VHS, I think, that just called to me. So Chris and I would actually watch that over and over at his house. The first movie. Oh, go ahead.
I don't think I saw the other two for like 10 years.
Oh yeah.
We only watched the one with like all the little Ewoks.
Yeah, I think we love the Ewoks, so we would just watch that over and over. The first movie I can remember watching in theaters was Independence Day with my mom and dad next to me, and that was special. But yeah, I mean, for as long as I can remember, people have always also valued my opinion on movies for some reason, whether they agreed with it or not. And so as a little hobby, I started posting some movie scores on Instagram. People took to it. There was good engagement there. And in December of 2021, I believe, which was my birthday month, Chris and Cap both surprised me with what I thought was one of the best birthday presents I've ever received, which was this website. At first, it wasn't on Sanity, and it was fun. I played around with it a little bit, posted some scores, but ultimately life got in the way. And so for the better part of 2021, it was just pretty much dead. 2022, Chris and Cap surprised me with Sean Score 2.0. And this is where now.
Before we jump into 2.0, I just want to say, like, as the person, well, first of all, we were like, okay, let's get Sean a cool Christmas / birthday present. He's one of those birthdays where you kind of just like lump it in with the holidays because it's so close. We're like, let's get him a gift. And we're like, okay, maybe like, $50, $100, whatever it is. And then I was like, let's build him a website. And then it ended up being like 2 weeks long of building this thing, which is, we all know how much time it takes to build something and then how much time it like really takes to build something. But yeah, so we were on Airtable the first time, and I thought I was the cleverest developer on earth. And I built like this custom movie review inputter that hooked into Airtable. And I have the Airtable up right here. It actually, I gave this to Sean and said, hey, have fun editing your website. And I don't even know, can we tell like how many you did? Where's the updated at? Oh, it's not created at. So, created at. So between here to the bottom, right around here, looking at like 70, which is still pretty good in 2021, but then nothing happened in 2022. So yeah, I guess that goes to show that like as the developer, you could build the coolest thing in the world. But if nobody wants to use it, right, it's just going to fall by the wayside. But yeah, stepping forward into 2.0. Jumped on board with Sanity. And I think it was a really fun time because Sanity V3 came out, and I've got to play with that a little bit. So, Sean, could you give us like a tour of the website? I always give like the tour of the website to people, but I would love to see what the content creator or website admin sounds like given that tour.
Sure, yeah, certainly. So there's basically two main components to the site. First, obviously, are the scores and the reviews, which you have on the right side here. Chris made this nice layout in this site. And when you click on a movie, you see my score. And what was added on the 2.0 version was the ability for the audience to also put their score, which was wonderful because people could put their own reviews and we could kind of have some engagement there. But I'll put a little review in here depending on the movie. It could be very short, it could be very long, just what kind of whatever the flow feels like. And then as you can see there, you have some people going in and putting their own scores as well. At the very bottom, you'll have a share poster, which after you create a review, you can go ahead and use that to share it to your own social media accounts. And that's pretty much the gist of the review portion.
And I know it seems like such a simple thing. It's so funny as like nerds, we just kind of like want to geek out over like the smallest things in the UI, but to generate an image based on what you just added as a review, like on the fly, was really a fun challenge. Let me see if I can add. I don't know if I've reviewed Avatar yet. And everybody in comments, if you want to throw out your number for what you think Avatar: The Way of Water would be. Oh, I did review it. Darn. I want to find one I haven't reviewed. I definitely haven't reviewed Fableman, so I'm just going to like throw it in. Let's go for like 90. Best movie of the day. So we'll add this. No bugs. Come on. There we go. So then you can take that and like throw it on your Instagram or wherever. But yeah, so that's like a really fun component to that. And if any of you like want to jump in, you can log in. We are using Auth0. You can just add your review, get a little share image, all that good stuff. And then, yeah, back to the homepage and news.
Yeah, news is the second component here, with which we also got with 2.0. It wasn't on the first version. That was a request, which Chris happily obliged. And it's just right now, it consists mostly of any new trailers that are coming out. I know people love their trailers. News and other sort of articles and op-eds will likely follow. But I go ahead and simply post a new trailer when it comes out, a little brief description, and then any other information, usually when the release date is, who the actors are, things like that.
Yeah, and it was like such a fun moment for me when I stopped going to other websites and just came here for my movie trailer news, because I would be like on 3 different websites. Slash Film is up there for me. I don't even go there anymore because all they want is so I think like for me that was such a validation that you were actually creating content. Like you did 15 trailers in one day at one point. So yeah, if you're in chat and you want like a good place to grab some news, this is a fun spot. I mean, I'm biased, I guess. But yeah, that's the front end. And I guess moving over from 1.0 to 2.0, the UI has stayed pretty much the same, right? Like, is there anything moving forward that you want to see, like new features, new sections?
There's little things here and there. People have chimed in. You know, I've always asked for any recommendations or suggestions, but mostly little things. People love the new news section. I think the ability to filter reviews when we get more of them on the site would be great. So maybe filter by year, filter by score, just things like that where they can kind of look into it. Right now we don't have as much content since it's fairly new, but I think once we do get it built up a little more, that would be a cool little thing to add.
Cool. Yeah, so what's funny is as the developer, I'm like, well, you just click reviews and there's like a little search button here, you know, but yeah, I feel like everyone has missed it because everyone loves the homepage so much.
Yeah.
And now I'm stuck with this problem of like reviews only searches reviews. And it's actually a Grok query in the background that just does a search on the review schema. And so now I have to create a search box that actually searches two schemas and then displays both in like some UI. And I'm like, oh no, didn't want to do that. So it's funny, like talking to the content consumer and content admin, because like a lot of stuff that, you know, makes sense in the real world, if you're not a developer, can get a little wiry as the developer. But yeah, no, that's good feedback. Let's jump into the studio, and I would love to get your tour of the Sanity studio.
Sure, yeah.
Here we go.
Okay, so this is much cleaner than Airtable. When Chris sent me the Airtable link, I was like, I mean, this is 2021. Why are you giving me an Excel sheet here to work on? So this is much more user-friendly. So first up, we have the news section up there, which clearly goes to the news area. I'll compose a new entry up top, which will give me this form here. So title, you know, obviously, if it's a trailer, a teaser trailer, if it's a news article, I haven't put too many of those, but I recently put the Oscar nominations. That was a little news article, so that was the title there. So I'll think of something quick and try to be witty. And then I'm told to click generate there to get the web address, enter the YouTube link. For the image, I'm pulling the cover image for the YouTube video using a different site, which then I'll upload in that section there. And then down below, simply, again, maybe the synopsis of the film, along with the director, stars, release date, any other pertinent information I feel should go in there.
So I noticed, so one, for the image, you go and do you just use like a website that does like YouTube to thumbnail type thing?
Yes. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So potentially something we could automate there. Mm-hmm. And then here, you're currently the only author, so that works out well. And then back here. So I noticed when you were creating content, you were using a lot of like H1s and H2s. Yeah, tell me, when you create, like, what's your thought process behind using it? Are you mostly using it for like formatting or?
Mostly for formatting and visual aesthetic. I believe at first the default font size was set to a fairly low value. And so clicking on the link, you would have the large trailer, and then down below, it would seem like chicken scratch almost. So I tried to enlarge that by, you know, using what I knew, which was the H1 tags. And then eventually you had increased the default font for anything that goes in the content box, which at that point made it much better.
Cool. So are you just using like bolds now?
Yes. So bold for the plot synopsis, and then everything else is just standard.
Got it. Justin Tell in chat, disabling H1s and H2s is a great feature. I did not know that existed, but I will do that. Because yeah, it's interesting, like coming from the dev side of things, I know how like search engine optimization goes, and usually you want like very minimal or important headings. Like H1 should only be like one of them on the page. H2 should be like the headings for above paragraphs. But yeah, as like a not dev, not SEO expert, it made sense that you were just using H1s and H2s all over the place. And I'm like, oh, I need to like tell you about that. So that was like a good learning experience for me. But yeah, and then so down here, do you use any of these buttons or?
Yes. So obviously, delete I've used a few times. There is discard changes, I believe. So if I go into an old review, trying to pull some other data to put into a new one, I will sometimes do, I believe, if you go to an older, something that's already published and make a change, you'll have a new option in that box. So if you maybe just type something in the content box there, oh yeah, discard changes. So I'll use that often. I haven't used restore, but I probably delete and discard changes are the ones I use the most.
Cool. I didn't even know about discard changes, so I'm learning. Have you used this versioning up here?
I have not known.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I haven't had the need to.
Cool. Yeah. So let's keep moving along in the studio. There's a lot of fun stuff from, at least my thoughts are on the movies side of things. Lots of custom inputs and like workflows. So if you want to jump in.
Yeah. So movies here. Everything's listed. I think I still would like the option. I know we briefly discussed it to rearrange the entries if it's possible. So what shows up in the order of things show up on the site, but very small thing for now.
Interesting. So that's like just a different sorting. How would you? Because would you want them to?
Almost by release date. So right now I'm entering reviews as I see them. Which is great, but maybe the ability, and I think this goes back to the filter process, to filter by release date. So if I say watch Jurassic Park again and decide to put a review on the site, it'll show up as a recently added review. But for those who kind of want to see, from release date and on, that might be kind of a fun way to sort it.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I find that there's a lot of times where Cap and I are like hanging out and we're like, we need a movie tonight. And it would be really fun to go to Sean Score and say like, oh, any movies between like 2020 to 2022 that are comedies that scored above above Black Adam's 5 would be nice. So yeah, something more to build. I guess you have something to look forward to for your next birthday.
But yeah, cool. Going back to the reviews here, composing a new review. This was much more enjoyable than going through Airtable. But so first things first, entering a movie. So let's do, I haven't seen it yet, unfortunately, but let's do Ant-Man, the new Ant-Man that just came out.
Is it Ant-Man? It's so funny. I actually used Ant-Man when I was building this, and it was like,
there you go.
The dash, yeah.
All right.
So everyone, that's a custom input component, which I didn't know was doable until I made this website, and that is a fantastic feature of Sanity to be able to drop that in. And then when I basically hit the IMDb API, do an autocomplete, and then when you click it, it pre-fills. Let me see if I can see it actually. It pre-fills the IMDb ID as a property in the schema. It didn't autofill title though, so I thought it did. Does it?
Yeah. So you need to go down to the drop down and then hit get movie data.
See, I don't even know how to use it anymore.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what schema means, so we're even.
I remember why I did that. I didn't know how to pre-fill other input fields based off of this one. Something to look at for me. And I probably should pre-fill slug at that point, right? With this button.
I mean, I won't be changing that at all. Although there are times I think we've discussed if, say, we're reviewing the second season of Ted Lasso, where I would go in, pull the IMDb data, and then adjust the title accordingly so that it shows, you know, an actual season, mostly for TV.
Yeah. Yeah. We've talked about season and episode. Like it would be fun to come back for like every Last of Us episode that's coming out.
Sure.
But yeah, we'll figure that. It all depends on how IMDb. Otherwise, we'd need like a whole new drop down for like season and episode number that we have to deal with.
Yeah, there's a couple websites I know of that have data for each episode and everything, so you can look into that.
Gotcha. Let's go for something that you've seen while we're on the DC Bash train. Let's go for Justice League, and then I'll click this button again. It should overwrite, right?
Mm-hmm.
Generate.
Yeah, and so that'll generate the images down below too.
These guys?
The movie posters there. That'll pull from IMDb.
I think. Oh, these. Yes. So these. Everyone is all the images that actually show up. Let me jump back to the site. If you click on, that's the poster on the left, and then these like little backdrop type images. Oh, there's duplicates, but that's where those come from. Just an IMDb dump of a bunch of images, and I store them as an array of strings in here. Yeah. So sorry. Next up.
So then next step should be score, but that's usually the tough one. I have to usually sit on it and marinate a little bit. I don't want to be too hasty. So I'll actually go
4 minutes, 3 minutes.
So I'll actually go in and write the review first. At least put my thoughts down. That kind of informs and helps with what score I'm going to put down. And so for Justice League, if I'm going to throw a number out there, because I wish it was much better, I would probably put 40.
Okay. Fair. And then next step?
So next step would be to hit that drop down for me one more time, if I'm forgetting anything. So generate share images, which will impose my score onto that tall image there. And then after publishing, it'll give me that option to share that said image to Instagram, Facebook, text it to someone.
Sweet.
And then it'll immediately update the site.
Awesome. Yeah, as the developer, I'm already seeing like a couple things. Like there's a couple steps that we could probably do away with. Like if you click to autocomplete, it autofills everything. And as soon as the score is maybe like blurred, where you like click out of the input box, it generates the images, like stuff like that. Because even I already forgot that these buttons work. And then yeah, so the question is just a quick note on these. So the tall one was mostly for like social media, like Instagram stories. And then the wide one actually ends up being the share image for the website. If you share it to like Twitter or if you text it, it's a OG image. I don't know. There's so many, like they all blend now to me, but yeah. So that's why there's tall and wide. Cool. So yeah, I guess speeding up. We're running out of time. Audience reviews.
Audience reviews. Any audience reviews go into this section here. I can delete them if I don't disagree with them. No, I'm just kidding. I can see what everyone has listed. Kind of gives me a very quick way to see what's anything new posted to the site.
Gotcha. Yeah, and then for everyone out there, this is like, I just learned of this about Sanity too. You can change out the preview thing where we change out the preview to be the score. So it's really easy to kind of look through and see what everybody scored. Same for movies as well. And it changes the color based on where it is. Like 0 to 50 is like yellow. Above 70 is green. But yeah, just another fun like Sanity thing that I learned about. Yeah, overall, like it's just been fantastic seeing you use the site and having it be a source that I use now as my data or as my like stream of news. Yeah, so thanks for doing the work.
Oh yeah, thanks for giving me the option to.
Yeah, so quick thing about that I see in chat. Can you have user data go into Sanity? Yes, so there's actually like I use Auth0 on the front end to do the authentication, and then I store that user info. And then when a review is created, I just make a Grok query mutation, well, whatever you want to call it, into the Sanity Studio, and it inserts it into that schema. Yeah, let's just bump Megan there. Jungle Cruise is nice. Cool. Yeah, I think thanks for coming on, Sean. I think we're going to do some Q&A now.
Sure.
And everyone, Q&A section. So if you want to drop your questions in the Slack, happy to answer them.
Cool. All right, I'm going to bring you over here. We're going to do Q&A like this because otherwise we're going to have a really bad echo going on. Can you hear us, Sean?
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect. So awesome talk. Sorry, my mic is like in the way. Awesome talk. Awesome, like seeing the creator create content and the developer see like, oh, maybe the flow isn't exactly what I thought. One that I noticed was you put your review, you write the review first, and then you write your score. Would it have been better if the layout was that way? Like, would you have rather have the text block before the review slot?
I don't know. I don't think it makes a big difference. I think that's just personal preference.
Mm-hmm.
I think when people are writing their own reviews, it's nice to have the score because that's the thing they want to input first. So I think the order of how those are presented is good right now.
Mm-hmm.
I know Chris did remove a lot of that formatting for users when they input their scores. I think it made it a little difficult. People got into their own head trying to make a review as big as they could. So that was a good choice.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have a bunch of questions from the chat. Right here, this is the first one. So how did you migrate data from Airtable to Sanity? And did you write your own utility or use something off the shelf?
You're not going to like it. Basically exported. It's so weird hearing myself.
Oh, you can take those off.
Will I hear Sean?
Go mute over there.
Yeah. So basically exported from Airtable as a giant CSV, dropped it into Next.js. I think I did it in a utility file or an API route. Either way, it ran in like the node environment in the server side things, and basically did a giant for each and inserted. And luckily, since there weren't so many, like there was only 70, it wasn't that bad. I probably would not do that for a lot more. Maybe if there were like 500 or so, I don't know, maybe like a Zapier thing where if you add to a spreadsheet, it would like just drop it into a Sanity data set. But yeah, just not pretty.
And then another one, for the user reviews on the front end, are you using Grok to compute average for a movie?
I don't think so. I think.
How's the average coming out?
I think we just pulled all of them and then in just front end JavaScript did a map on them or reduce on them, which, might be a problem once there's more than 20 reviews per. There's no pagination on this thing. And I think Sean has already called that out that like, he's like, hey, if I go to the news page and I go to the bottom, it just ends. There's no like next. So I got to do pagination next. But yeah, probably a grok query once pagination becomes an issue.
Cool. And I see, oh, thanks, Tarun.
Nice.
So yeah, very interesting to see that content flow and how, as a developer, like on the developer side of things, how we can look at things a little bit differently. Just because we think it should go a certain way, like the schema should go a certain way, doesn't mean that makes sense for the content creator. I see a lot of people are typing. I don't know if it's questions coming up, but I will let Sean and Chris go. Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much for showing us Sean's score. And remember, you can go and you can put your own score. So if you don't agree with the score that Sean has, you can go change the audience score to be higher or lower. Sean, what movies get 100 in your book?
Ooh, that's like picking my favorite dog. I can't do that. A lot of it would be steeped in nostalgia. So Star Wars: A New Hope.
Last 5 years.
Last 5 years. On the spot. I think if anything, the movie I've seen lately that gets closest to 100, and might be wrong here because I might have actually scored it, but I think Everything Everywhere All at Once is an amazing movie. There's nothing like it. I know there's obviously a lot of hype around it, but I think it's warranted. So I think in the last year or so, not Black Adam and more Everything Everywhere All at Once.
That's the spectrum then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like, I guess a closing thought for me, I learned a lot in this, and I would challenge everybody to let the person that you built for walk you through the thing that you built for them. Does that sound right? I learned a lot, and I want to go fix a lot of things. But yeah, thanks.
Right on. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Sean. And
yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you.